The world doesn't think that the gospel can change your life, but we know that it can. And that's why we want you to hear these stories of transformation, stories of freedom, people getting free from sin and healed from sin because of Jesus. This is Death to Life.
It was church school has trained me for this. When someone's preaching love, this is a sign that this is not right. Like, you know what I mean? When someone's teaching unity, it's the end of days, and this is like, you know,
Oh my gosh.
Like it was really like when
unity is the end of days.
Unity, it freaked me out, and so I went shields up like big time. And so what he would do, he was just so patient with me. What he would do is he would turn up the volume. And so I would leave the room. I would be in the kitchen. I would be somewhere else. And I would be listening. And then I was like, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Welcome to the Death to Life podcast. My name is Richard Young, and we are in the middle of Oklahoma month. Maybe we're getting towards the end, but you heard Micah's story. This is Micah's wife, Diana, and her story is powerful. Maybe I resonated with it because we're relatives from the old country. I don't know. Maybe it's just her honesty and vulnerability, and I don't know. I just think God has given her such a heart to love, and there was just so many lies in the way. But this is the story about how those lies got cleared out, and it's beautiful, and I think you're going to get a huge blessing out of it. It's probably not for the kids, but it is so good. So this is Diana. Buckle up and strap in. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Okay. Diana, you have joined for another episode of Oklahoma Month here on the Death to Life podcast. We started with your husband, and then we had Wes, and now we're having you. How do you feel about being the guest of honor on Oklahoma Month on the Death to Life podcast?
It feels great. It feels like winning the championship.
So we heard your husband's story, and where are we going to start with your story?
Wherever you want. We can start wherever.
Okay, so he told us a little bit about your job at Panera, but why don't you give us a little bit about your background in your spiritual life? Did you grow up a Christian? Where did you grow up?
So, I did grow up a Christian. My mom visited many churches as I was like growing up. So we went to Baptist church, Pentecostal church, and Adventist church, and just things like that. I think that the most important thing for her was for us to have a relationship with God. And so I think it was super, super important to her that we would have that relationship because my sister and I, we grew up without a dad. And
Yeah.
so ever since we were little, and, you know, we would ask, she was always like, God is your father, you know? And so, we would always talk to him, like, conversationally, my sister and I, like, we were little and we would go in the backyard, and we had these, bamboo trees in the back, and it felt like we were going on a safari or something.
Where did you grow up? Remind me.
In Oklahoma, we have bamboo. We have wild bamboo that it's really invasive. But
Is that all over Oklahoma?
no, it really isn't. But we did have it in our backyard, and it was like you would cut it down, and it would get huge.
Wow.
Every
I've
year.
never heard of that.
Yeah. And so we would go back there and we would just talk to God, like out loud.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I did talk to my mom about that probably last year, and she said that it would make her cry to hear us talk to God, because it made her happy that he was able to fill that role for us, you know?
That is
And
beautiful.
so, yeah.
So, but she didn't have any specific denomination.
So she grew up Catholic.
Uh-huh.
They were very Catholic when she was a kid. And then, they have like, she was waiting to turn 15, because when you turn 15, they would have like this huge party at the house. She was one of 12, and they would have dancing and drinking and all this stuff. And so she was super pumped. She's like, I'm going to be 15. We're going to do this. And then when she turned 15, her parents became Christian, and she didn't get her party. But, so she became evangelica. I don't know. And,
Evangelical?
yes. And so, so she became evangelical, and, but she did also attend the Adventist church down there in El Salvador. And so,
Are we cousins?
we could
We,
be.
I still have, you gave me an El Salvador keychain, didn't you?
Yes.
It is still on my keys. It's right. That's the only keychain I have is the one you gave me. So thank you. Um, but yeah, I think we talked about that before. That reminded me, that we're cousins.
We're
So
cousins.
she attended one in El Salvador, and then when she came up, she still kept her options open.
Yes. So when she came here, she started going to Adventist church. And then I think that there was like some off-putting things that happened. Not with the the message, but more so with the people. And so she was just kind of like, I'll step away. It's okay. And then we went to an American church. It was a Baptist church. And then, we were losing our Spanish. So she was like, okay, let's go to Pentecostal church. You guys need to I need to make sure you guys speak Spanish. So we went to Pentecostal church, which was Hispanic, in Spanish. And, we stayed there until I was probably 10, and my aunt called my mom. This is so random. My aunt called my mom because her kids were going to start at an Adventist school. And they were going to be the only Hispanic kids there. And my cousins had recently, not all of them, but some of them had recently come from El Salvador. So they didn't speak English. So she begged my mom to send us to this Adventist school. And so my mom agreed, and that's when I met Micah in third grade.
In third grade.
He was in second, I was in third. Yeah.
It's a common tale of elementary school sweethearts. It's a tale as old as time. It is not. So when did you and Micah develop feelings for each other?
So it didn't happen then, but it would have been like 7th and 8th grade. We would just hang out and we would joke, and, we just loved making each other laugh. And so one day I passed him a note. I'm the one that passed the note. And it was like, do you want to be my boyfriend? Check yes, check no. And I slipped it.
Grade.
No, this was 7th, 8th. And he checked yes. And I was like, okay.
Man. And since then did you break up a couple times, a few times, or was it straight all
one time? One time.
Who? What's the tea? Who broke up with who?
Oh, it was bad. This is bad. It was New Year's Eve. Had to been 2005. I think he was playing video games or something, and I was talking to him, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe we should just take a break. And he was like, yeah, probably. And I was like, okay. And then that was it. That was just over the phone. And then I was crushed. Like, even though I was kind of like, meh, like, I was crushed, and that was really bad. That was a really
How
that was
many
not. It
days did you guys stay broken up?
was like 8 months, and
Oh, wow.
yes, so it was so bad. A friend of mine had also been broken up with, and so we just started partying, to forget, I guess. And we were like drinking and smoking, and it just and I was in 10th grade, and it was just not a good situation.
So, didn't mean to get to that bummer of a sad story. So, but let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
Growing up, who is he to you?
God is my father, and I talk to him all the time. And yeah. And then I would so I started drinking at the age of 10. And
Why?
bec- so my mom she was a single parent.
Mm,
And so she always had 2 to 3 jobs at a
mm.
time. And so she would work, like, let's say when she worked 2 jobs, she would work the 3 to 11 shift and then the 11 to 7 shift. So,
3 to 11,
yeah.
11 to
So,
7. So she
yeah.
only got a few hours of rest.
Yes. That's when she only had 2 jobs. And so, my sister and I, we would, probably shouldn't have said that.
If you're listening to this, sister, it's okay.
Me and a person,
Yeah. Yeah, just a person.
we would come home. We were latchkey kids, so we would get a ride home, and we would kind of be up on our own,
Hmm.
and then we would go to school. Like, we would rarely see my mom, except whenever she would take off for church or whatever. And so in the summertime, that was prime time,
Sure.
And my sister was like 4 years older than me, and so I was like, in order for me not to snitch, she had to include me.
In order for
So
you not to snitch. How sweet
yes,
is that?
so we would have parties at friends' houses, and there was a friend in particular, and her mother was really big into drinking, and so she would just let us have free range of her collection.
What were you
Yeah,
drinking?
thinking back, it wasn't the best.
What
And
were,
so,
yeah, what'd you drink at
oh
10 years
man.
old?
So I remember drinking Jägermeister, and vodka was easy because it was clear. You could put that in a water bottle. You could, do whatever. And it was just really strong. We would have, what else?
Did you develop a taste for this at 10 years old?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that I enjoyed it. I don't think that I craved it or anything like that. All I knew is that at the age of 10, because I was the smallest one, I felt like I had something to prove. And
Mm.
so I would try to outdrink everybody else.
Hmm.
And that was not a good idea.
Wow.
And I started, that's when I tried smoking marijuana. I tried smoking cigarettes, but my asthmatic lungs said no, thank you. Um, and so it was a blessing because I didn't get addicted to nicotine. But, but yeah, it's just, yeah. But we would still, like, be at church, doing our thing, you know. I don't know.
So, what did you feel like bad about it, or you're just like, this is life?
Um, I did feel bad about it after. I think in the moment, like once you're drunk, you don't care. I, you know,
Yeah.
um, but afterwards the guilt was set in. I was like, what are you doing?
Hmm.
You know, I, how do I say this? I understood that it wasn't good for my body, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so I felt bad about it in a spiritual way, but I also felt bad about it in a health perspective with a health, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know what you mean.
And so, I think those things were just kind of, no, it just wasn't great.
So, as you're going up, I mean, this wasn't like a habit that you got. Was it a habit that you got into, or was it just here and there?
The summers were wild, and then school would start back up, and then it was like here and there. It was, you know, because yeah, it was, I still had to be up in the morning, you know? Um, yeah.
So then, by the time you're in high school and you and Micah are dating, was it like a big part of your life, or this is just like, oh, footnote here. There was when the summers would come around, I would get a little
Oof.
wild.
So, so in middle school, we hung out with people that were very much into that life, like that, the party life.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, and I say that, but we were also like little SDA kids, so I don't
Sure.
think it compares to some other kids, I'm
Yeah.
sure, but still like, yes, we would drive around and we would smoke and we would drink and yeah, it was,
That's kind of wild for being a
it's
little.
why, oh,
Yeah.
it is, it's almost, it's terrifying because I help out a lot at the school now
Uh huh.
to see these kids. And I'm like, the things that I was doing at your age, like, I'm just, yeah.
Well, praise God. So you're going through school. You love God. God is your father.
Yes. I think I talked to him less, especially during those times. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't really reach out as much.
Right.
And maybe it was the guilt. I don't know. But just life seems so, like, unpredictable. So I think the fact that my mom was never home was like a really big deal. And the ways that I chose to cope were just not healthy.
Hmm.
And I became very, very angry.
Hmm.
And so, yeah. But with Micah, like I would laugh and I would joke and he knew my home life and, he was just like this little ray of sunshine.
That's what he is now.
Yeah, he still is.
Just a big old ray of sunshine. So then, when you guys broke up at 10th grade, I thought
There's
you
the
were gonna say,
sunshine.
I thought you were gonna say like 3 weeks, but 8 months. That's quite a bit of time.
Yeah,
Were you
it
guys still
was.
friends, or was it like double
No,
whammy?
no. It was like a complete like severing. It was just
So who got back with who then? How did that work?
so a lot of really bad stuff happened that summer. Not to him, but yeah. And so it had to have been my junior year actually, not my not 10th grade. And when we went back to school, we were in the same classroom. And so we just I feel like it was inevitable.
Hmm.
We at the beginning we didn't talk, and then little by little, like we started talking again. But I think what really brought us back together was basketball.
Let's go.
Yeah.
How did basketball bring you back together? Like the movie Love and
So
Basketball? Was it like that? You guys are playing one on one?
yes, that really
Seriously?
it really was. Yeah, because I really enjoyed playing,
Uh-huh.
and he enjoyed playing basketball as well. And so we would just, whenever it was time, like when we would have break after lunch or whatever, we would go put up some shots and be like, okay, do you want to play? Like, okay, cool. And I think that's how, I think that's kind of how the ice broke, you know?
That's real sweet.
Yeah.
And so then was it just like you guys started hanging out and you're just like, you know what, we probably ought to be back together.
Yeah, kind of. I don't remember what ended up happening, but I think I needed a ride home from school. And he was like, well, I can take you. And I said, okay. And so he drove me to the house, and then we just talked,
Hmm.
you know, and, I shared like what had happened throughout these 8 months. And then we realized that we really missed each other. And so we got back together.
And so then you got married a couple days after high school graduation. Was that
Ooh.
who was more down for that? Was it just both of you guys were like, we're in it, let's might as well, or who was pushing that?
So he asked. I didn't ask. He asked, and I was like, it was, again, it was, alcohol was involved.
In the engagement?
It was
He didn't he
yes.
didn't he
So
didn't tell that part of the story.
yeah, I'm sure he didn't. Well, I know he didn't, but we were house sitting. Well, one of us was house sitting, and a party was thrown,
Oh no.
and we were there. I couldn't even see straight. Like I was like, close one eye just to see, one of you. And then he's like, I want you to marry me, or will you marry me? And I think he had a ring at the time, and I was like, okay. And that was it.
Did you tell your mom and dad, or excuse me, tell your mom, and she's just like, okay,
So at that point, my dad was there,
okay,
and yeah, I told them. So one thing, because of everything that had happened, well, because I said, if we're gonna get back together, you need to ask my mom
yeah.
for permission. And he was like, "What?" Because culturally, that's not a thing that they do. That that
For
his
the
culture.
for the Hispanics,
Yes, the Hispanics, like, you have to ask my parent.
yeah.
Anyways, so I said, you're gonna have to ask my mom. And so he asked her, and she was a little bit reluctant, but she said, okay. And she's 4'8". Like, she's just this tiny little lady. And he was nervous, but um but yeah, I think I think my mom was probably a little bit nervous. She did say one thing to me. She said, "Hijita," because she does end of life care. She goes,
Mhm.
"Hijita, how are you gonna pick him up when you're old?" And I was like, I don't know.
What if that's the reason you guys didn't get married? You're like, you're too big, and when we're old, I'm not gonna be able to pick you up. So
Uh,
that's so
yep.
sweet. So
Yeah.
was marriage like right away? Was it what you thought it was gonna be? Was it different?
It, I think that, so I think that because we were friends, it was kind of like at first it was like having a sleepover with your friend.
Hmm.
Like it was so fun. You know, you talk, you hang out. It was but it was also like you go to work together, you go to school together, you're taking the same classes together. And so it was really, really fun until I feel like reality sets in a little bit where it's like, you're not as flawless as I once remembered you being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I just found your shoes again,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And and I think that we were dealing with things, like we were maturing, we were trying to figure out who we were. And
Sure.
so I do think that we had some growing pains,
Sure.
you know? At the beginning of our marriage, I was kind of like pushing for, you know, maybe not doing drugs anymore and drinking and let's not
Hey,
do
I
this
have an
anymore.
idea. Let's not do drugs anymore. And he's like,
Yeah.
I like drugs.
And so and so I felt like I was very conservative. It felt like I was being very conservative by making those suggestions.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I don't know. It was just yeah.
Who was God at this point? Was he good with you guys? Were you good with him? Was he a part of your life?
So I think that because we grew up in the church, God always had a place, but it wasn't like I don't think that we reached out to him like we could have. Does that make sense? Like
Hmm.
we were still going to church on Saturday, but we might not have been making the best choices throughout the week. So when I was in high school, middle school, there was a lady that came to the school and she was like an old like meth head and did all this stuff and she said one thing that stuck with me throughout my life. And she said, "Whatever you do, don't ever let go of God. Like when you mess up, when you do this, when you do that, whatever it is, when life is busy, when life is happy, when life is sad, like whatever you do, don't let go of God."
Hmm.
And so I think that we always made it a point, and sometimes it was more of a habit to have him there, like your prayers, say your nighttime prayers, say your before you eat or whatever. But he always had a place.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. And you wanted more of him, but you didn't really know how. Like you were kind of starting to go after it a little bit.
A little bit more, yes. Yeah.
So as time goes by and you're young adults, um, from Micah's story, you're working restaurant gigs. And restaurant gigs, I love restaurant gigs because I have ADHD and everything's moving, 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 and there's a rush. Did you enjoy that part of your life?
Yes. It was really nice. It was really nice until you got home and you put your feet up and you realize how much your legs hurt
Yeah.
from standing for so long. But yeah, like, oh, sometimes we even think about it and we're like, man, like, just to go back and work for one day, like, it would be so fun, you
It
know?
is fun. It
Yeah.
is fun. Complaining about the customer, but fixing. I don't know. I love that part of it. So as you're getting older and you're going through life, did you guys pretty much chill with the drugs and the drinking, or was it kind of like every once in a while, kind of like,
I think we chilled for the most part. Um, we chilled for the most part, I would say. And then like when we bought our first house, then we went through like a mimosa phase. It was, yeah. We went through a mimosa phase and then,
Like every day you're like, it's breakfast time.
no, it was
Where's that
Sunday.
OJ and shit? Or,
Sunday. It was, yeah, we're like, let's do it. And, you know, but it was kind of like an unwind kind of thing. I don't know. Look, it wasn't great. It just, we shouldn't have done it.
but then as you're going, when did you see Micah heading towards a more conservative life?
Oh.
And how did that hit you?
So I think he did make mention. It was when a pastor moved into, not moved into, when a pastor started coming, like when we changed pastors. And, at that point, by that time, I think we had Isaac, which, which isn't a miracle of its own, but, um, it was really, really hard.
Hmm.
So at that point, I was a stay-at-home mom, which I never thought I would be. And I was sad. Like, when I was 10, this is probably TMI, but when I was 10, I started, my cycle, and it lasted a month.
Oh no.
And so at the age of 10, I was started on birth control. Then I continued to have issues, so I
Did the
continued.
doc say that that was normal? Like that's not. What did the doc
Well,
say?
um, the doctor, it was a Salvadorian doctor, so, she was just like, you know, she didn't, I feel like they never really gave me a diagnosis. They never said, this is what you have. Like, she never said that. But she did say, like, in my teens, she said, hey, they did an ultrasound. She said, your eggs aren't dropping.
Hmm.
That means they're not, maturing. She was like, so just FYI, you're probably never going to have kids.
Hmm.
And I was like, I mean, in my teen years, do I want to have kids? No. When Micah was like, do you want to marry me? I was like, okay, but I'm never going to give you kids. Did we want kids at 18, 19? No. So we were like, yeah, high five, no kids. And then,
Then it's
and,
different.
I was, and so I was like, okay, cool. And then, I was like, I'll focus on school, make sure I get a career. I'll focus on that. And my mom was very much like, because of her relationship with my dad, she said, you have to get an education. A man can take many things away from you, but he can never take away your education.
Hmm.
So make sure you have something under your belt. And I was like, okay. And so, like, that was my focus. My focus was get a career, be successful, don't worry about a family. Like, that was the furthest thing from my mind. And then, as I was getting my bachelor's, I started taking naps. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I don't take naps. What? And I had to turn in a paper and I didn't even remember. Like, I was, I was like, what is going on? And I was talking to my sister and I'm telling her all these things. And I was like, I'm sleepy. I'm forgetting everything. And she just looks at me and she goes, are you pregnant?
Pregnant.
And I said, no, that's not possible. Do you know me? Like, no. And, I had just gone to see my parents, earlier that week. And my mom had said, when are you going to give us grandkids? And I was like, Mom, like, I can't, like, I don't know why you're asking. And then my dad said, "You better watch out. You're going to be like Sarah." And I laughed in his face because I was like, that's so ridiculous. And I was already pregnant.
In your face.
I was like, dang it. And so, having Isaac was like being pregnant was really, really nice. It was such a neat experience. And then, once he came around, but
Sure.
we had to have the conversation of like, what are we going to do about childcare? You know? And because my mom had a million jobs, we bounced from childcare to childcare to childcare, and we were abused in many situations. And so finding childcare was not an option. And at this point, Micah had a stable job, and the only thing that I had done was work at Panera or work at the university at like the welcome center. And so the decision was obvious, but I didn't know what it meant to be a mom.
Who does until they're a mom?
I know, but I didn't even have the example. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, it does.
and it's not to shame her in any way, because she did everything that she could.
For sure.
But it made me so sad. I felt like I was failing. Like, and then the postpartum hits, And at the time we only,
I didn't experience it, but I do know that it
oh,
happens. What did it make you? Did it make you just extra depressed, or?
yes, it was bad. Like, because, okay, like I said, I was terrified. The first, probably we came back home. Micah was home for, I think he took a week or two. And so we were kind of adjusting. We were figuring things out. My mom had to leave because my grandparents were sick, so she left for the first month of his life. And we didn't really have help. And so the moment that Micah went back to work, like, I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. And I remember him crying. And I remember thinking, because I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, but it's called embrasilados, where babies are so used to being held that you can't set them down ever. Does that make sense? And so,
yeah, for sure.
I was so scared that my kid was going to do that I didn't want to hold him. And I remember my sister coming over because she was still around. And so she came by, and I was like, he's crying, but I don't want to hold him because I don't want him to think that I have to hold him all the time. And she looked at me and she was like, "You better grab that baby." She was like, "He is not trying to manipulate you. Like, he's days old. What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Wait, so I'm supposed to grab him?"
I'm like you. Like, for me, I'm like, that baby's not going to pull one over on me.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, "What are you talking about?" There's probably somewhere in between that's probably the right one, that, yeah, you hold the baby, but then there's probably somewhere in between.
Oh, yeah. And so my sister was working as parents as teachers for like troubled people or whatever. And so she was like, "Let me sign you up. Let me just sign you up." So for the first year of his life, my sister was coming over, teaching me about like milestones that he should be hitting, teaching me about things to look for. So anyway, for the first year of his life, my sister was getting paid to visit me. once a month for an hour. I think it was like an hour a week, and it was so nice. And at the time, I wasn't driving because I got into a wreck at 15, didn't have a license, and it freaked me out, and I did not want to drive. And so...
Is that a Salvadoran type thing?
I hope not. Is
Because,
it?
like, my abuelita did not drive one day of her life.
Oh,
Not once did she ever drive. I don't know if that's... Like, was your mom like, you better not ever drive after that? Or was it just
no.
you?
I put myself in a timeout for years.
How long did the postpartum blues last?
Oh, I feel like it had to have lasted at least a year.
Yeah.
And not getting out of the house did not help.
What would you ask God for?
I don't think I did during that time. I think it was just survive, you know? And, whenever he would nap, I would watch TV, I would watch the news, I would watch something. And so when Micah was starting to get like more regimented, and he said, "Hey, I think we should put the TV in the closet," I was livid.
Why did he want to put the TV in the closet?
Because we didn't need to, because it was like, the living room should be a family room. We don't need a TV. Like, I think the pastor literally came one time and he said something like, "It's interesting how we put this TV in the middle of the family room, almost like an altar." And so Micah was kind of like, "I think we should put the TV in the closet." And I was like, "You realize we live in Oklahoma and we have tornadoes? Like, no. This is my window to the outside world because I literally don't drive. Like, I need this for me, you know?" But everything else that he wanted to change didn't necessarily affect me. Like, he went out of his way to say, like, "I'm not gonna eat this anymore, but you can." And when he would say that, it would make me angry. And so it's like, then that's what I'm gonna cook. Like,
What did he cut out? Just meat, or did he cut out like cheese?
dairy, he was trying to be vegan. When he was like, "I'm not gonna eat cheese anymore." Oh, I was like, "Not my cheese. Not my cheese." Like, but again, I felt like I was being attacked. Even though he would always clarify and say, "I promise I'm not putting this on you. I'm just not gonna eat cheese." And it was so upsetting. What else did he do? It was just a bunch of little stuff. And then, so when our anniversary would come around, he would say, "What do you want to do?" And I'd say, "Go to the movies." That's the only thing I want. Don't buy me anything. Don't spend any money on me. Like, I don't want flowers, none of that. Just go to the movies. I just want quality time in a movie theater because I knew it was going to bug him. And,
Because it was driving.
looking back, I feel like I was so petty. And I even went to a therapist about this. And she said, "Have you ever tried to do these things?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Okay. So how come whenever he suggests it, it bothers you?" And that was very offensive. I stopped seeing her. No, I'm just kidding. No. But it was eye-opening. It was like, I was a little bit of a legalist at the beginning, and he was like, "Okay, like, I'll be patient with you. Let's go. Let's do it. It's fine. We'll cut that out." Okay, we'll cut that out too. I went through my, "I don't think we should go to the movies" phase, and he was like, "Okay, I don't want to make you uncomfortable." But when he did it, it really bothered me. I don't know. I don't know what that was.
Uh, no, it makes sense. That makes
Does
complete
it?
sense. Yeah, when someone tells, like, if you're gonna go do something and somebody tells you to do it, you kind of don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
It takes any dopamine away that you would get by doing it. Like if you're heading to wash the dishes and your husband's like, "Hey, can you get those dishes?" You want to be like, "I was about to, but now I'm never gonna touch them." It's just like,
Ah, is that a Salvadorian thing?
no, it's an ADHD thing, but I don't know. Like
Oh.
it's heavy for me. Like if but it's about dopamine. Like there's a reward, but then when somebody asks you to do it, it takes away the reward.
Mm, that makes sense.
So you guys are keeping going. He's going a little bit more regimented, and you are
Yes.
pushing back. What happened?
Yes. Um, there was just a lot of conflict. So Micah was making these changes. I was struggling with them. And then another thing that kind of popped up in the midst of all of this was because I'm 4'10" and I had an 8-pound baby, I was like readjusting. Well, he's almost 8 pounds, like almost 2 ounces away. I was readjusting to how your body changes.
Sure.
And I was not happy with what I looked like. Like with Isaac, I got stretch marks, like just all the way up, you know? Like I had stretch marks on my calves from the fluid that they pumped into me.
Oh,
It was really bad. Um, so I was really struggling with my appearance.
mhm.
And because of that, I would push Micah away. And then, like, I would reconsider and I would think, why am I doing this? And so in the morning, I would like suggest intimacy
Mhm.
and he would say, oh, not right now.
Mm.
And I was like, not right now? Who says that? Who, what? And, and so that rejection, I started to internalize,
Sure.
and so then I would take care of things on my own.
Mhm.
And then when he would come around, I would be like, well, now I'm not interested, you know?
Yeah.
And so there was that going on, plus the conflict from the legalism, plus just being exhausted because you're sleep deprived, all these things, you're adjusting to this new addition. And, it was rough. I would say 3 years.
It changes your life,
Yeah.
and that's an
Wait, which
understatement.
part? Which
Having a
part?
kid, having a kid,
Oh, but we adjusted with him. We loved him.
but still,
I
like
think,
your body is different, and I mean,
yeah,
all of that comes from just like a new life.
yeah.
So keep going.
So that started going on, and then it finally got to a point where that pastor was asked to leave.
Hmm.
And I don't know if Micah mentioned this, but the day that he was asked to leave and it was announced, did he mention this?
I don't think he did.
There was an earthquake.
No, he didn't mention that.
It was wild. So Micah really, really loved this guy. Like, and he really, this pastor meant well. He was very sweet. He just was a little bit legalistic, which is fine. You know, we're all on our own journeys.
Yeah.
And the way that this pastor was asked to go was just so shady. And when they announced it, there was like a literal earthquake. Oklahoma didn't really used to get earthquakes, I believe, until fracking. But, you know, I don't think Micah can confirm or deny any of that. But yeah, it was a big one. And then after that, I feel like he started listening to other people. We were listening to these sermons that were so like fire and brimstone, and, you know, and now we have this kid and we're like, how are we going to raise? So then I was like hopping on this train, right? I was like, all right, let's do this. And it was like, you know, they're not allowed to watch anything on TV. And I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. They're not allowed to listen to any music. Okay, they're only allowed to listen to Beethoven. Maybe, you know. And we started raising him. Like, he had to, like, I literally cut out 10 commandments in blue paper because it had to be correct. Like, you know, because the tablets were blue and all this stuff. Like,
Were they? Did the Bible say they were blue?
yes, it was like some sort of stone. And if you look up the stone, they were blue or something. Anyway, so it was just, and he had to recite the 10 commandments before bed. And then I was doing the thou shalt not, you know, thou shalt not kill, you know. And then Micah was like, no, what was it? I don't know if I was like, thou shalt not kill. And then Micah was like, no, if we're going to do this right, it has to be like the legit, like, King James version. It was like long, and Isaac had to know these. He was a baby and he was like reciting these things, and he would only watch like Bible, like the Hanna-Barbera, like Bible movies, and he had those down, and we would read his little red books every night.
Hanna-Barbera, like with Moki?
Oh, no. I mean the, what is that? The little Bible ones that they'll do like in mission trips.
The one with Margot.
No, not with the characters. We didn't allow those. We didn't. It was
those are the bomb.
No, it was like, oh, they're just like the little Bible stories. Like, it was just wild. And like, so the way Micah was raised, he wasn't allowed to have sugar until he was like 4.
Oh my.
And so with Isaac, like, I would make him, we were so crunchy, which is good, but we were like, he's only allowed these things, and we would like start with vegetables, and like, which is great, again, but I feel like there was a little, like, we wouldn't let him try sugar. Like, we were like, no, that's okay. Nice. So we kind of got on the same.
So were you guys happy?
You know how sometimes being right makes you happy? And so you feel like you're being right. And so it kind of brings you like this sense of like, yeah.
There's like, yeah, you get a little dopamine by being right.
Yeah. And so, it was just good times, you know, but not too good at times, because that could be bad.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I want to take a break. If you guys don't go to the Bible studies, if you're listening to this and you don't go to the Bible studies, baby, what is you doing? The Bible studies is where we're growing, we're learning how to walk this thing out. It's kind of like, this is the story that gets you interested, but then doing life in community with others who've grabbed onto this freedom, that's happening in the Bible studies. That's happening at Internet Church. So we'd love to have you at Internet Church. We do that the second and fourth Friday of the month. We'd love you have you at the Bible studies. We do that almost every single day of the week. And we're able to do these things because people donate and give generously of what God has blessed them with. And you can do that at lovereality.org/give. This podcast is still changing lives. The gospel is still changing lives. We just want to get it out there. We want to partner with Christ. We want to work with Christ so that people can receive the message of reconciliation. So if you want to partner with us, go to lovereality.org/give. And we want to keep this thing going forward. And we want more people to receive the truth in Jesus' name. So let's get back to the episode.
Yeah.
So how many years did this go?
I don't know. So I think Micah said that he found the Death to Life videos in 2016. So I guess that's when
Here, Jonathan, I think 2016,
Okay.
2017.
Okay.
Well,
So around there. So
really
let's
started
say
preaching, like, Love Reality started in 2017.
okay, so let's
it was
say
after that.
2017. So Isaac was 3. And when Micah started listening to these things, I went shields up.
You're not about it?
No. I mean,
So
cover the baby's ears. I'm just kidding.
Were you already you had become pretty strict, traditional conservative?
Somewhat, yes. Like, yeah. Like, I remember buying a CD we were at camp meeting and we bought the CD from a folk singer, which love him. He's amazing. And I even felt like maybe that was wrong. Cause he played, cause he was playing like the guitar and like shaking a little bells with his leg and something else. And I was like, this is a little too wild for me. And this is somebody that grew up listening to Eminem and like I knew all the words and like all this stuff and I just catapulted.
You're like, I'm just Marshall Mathers, but then you can't listen to a guy with a tambourine. Oh, mercy.
So yeah, so then I noticed Micah started kind of like being a little bit more chill and it freaked me out.
It would.
And then like, and he would say, hey, I want you to listen to this. And I would refuse.
And this was like when it was Jonathan or something.
Yeah. But he had a little whiteboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you refuse, you're just like, I don't want to make another turn like we've turned so many times, or what was the...
No, it was church school has trained me for this. When someone's preaching love, this is a sign that this is not right. Like, you know what I mean? When someone's teaching unity, it's the end of days. And this is like, you know,
oh my gosh.
Like it was really like when
unity is the end of days?
Unity, because when everybody's like, it was like, it freaked me out. And so I went shields up, like big time. And so what he would do, he's just so patient with me. What he would do is he would turn up the volume. And so I would leave the room. I would be in the kitchen. I would be somewhere else and I would be listening. And then I was like, that's wrong. That's wrong.
What was the stuff that was wrong?
Like, it just seemed, right? It just seemed like it was very once saved, always saved.
Ooh. That's the scariest thing in the life of a super traditionalist.
And it was like, yeah, I just did not like it. I didn't like it. And
the idea of not liking, what is the scary thing there?
It was, you know what was scary? I thought that, you know, where it says like, many will fall, many like, and it's just like, I will not fall. I'm not falling for this kind of thing.
Falling for what? Love?
Falling for like, I can do anything and I'm still fine. Like, that statement freaked me out because I'm like, no, that's not true, And then, you have the whole like, just.
Yeah, I mean, okay. You want to make sure that the behavior is correct.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
And so I really struggled with that. And then you guys started doing Zoom calls, I think.
Yep.
And he would sit next to me and he would have it on. And I was in such an angry place because it's like, you asked me to change all these things. And now you're living this love, peace, and hair grease kind of lifestyle. Like, what?
You're like, the TV's in the closet, bro. We're not coming back from this.
And so I would sit there and I would watch you guys. And I would be like, they're fake.
Oh, man.
I was so angry.
That hurts.
I would, and I
what
even
was fake?
The joy.
The joy?
Yes.
Mercy.
It was like their happiness, the happiness that you guys resonated made me angry.
Interesting.
It was so, like, thinking about it now, it was so sad. And I even said this to Ame because Ame was like the most joyous.
It's too much.
I said, Ame, I genuinely thought that what you were saying you had was fake. I said, and I am so, so sorry.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was like, I am so, so sorry. And she's like, well, I'm so sorry that it bothered you. I was like, no, you did nothing wrong. Like, absolutely nothing.
That's crazy. So you're watching it, you're angry at the whatever you think is not legit.
Yes.
Keep going. What happened?
I got COVID.
God bless.
We got COVID and we almost died. And so
It was bad.
Yeah, we literally almost died. And I know I'm laughing, but we made it. So
how did you go to the hospital?
No.
You just felt terrible.
Oh, it was really bad. So Micah and I got COVID and we were in bed for like days. And we got to the point where we were so far gone that we stopped eating.
Mercy.
And we didn't even have the desire to eat. And so we thought, this is great. Our body wants to fast. And my mom called. This was after days of fasting. My mom called and she said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, we're laying in bed, just no energy. My lungs hurt. Like my ribs hurt from coughing. The kids were here and Micah just kind of just laid there. Like he couldn't walk from the bedroom to the kitchen without like having to rest. And my mom called. She noticed something was up. And then she said, what did you guys eat today? And I said, nothing. We're fasting. And she said, well, what did you eat yesterday? I said, nothing. Cause we've been fasting. And like, I'm super peaceful. And again, my mom has done end of life care for many years. And she said, get up and go get something to eat. And I was like, Mom, it's okay. This is what our body wants. Like, and so she yelled at me and she was like, get up right now. Go find something to eat. And so I look over at Micah and his lips are white.
That's not good.
And I feel like if had my mom not yelled at me in that moment, I wouldn't have woken up because I was literally like in a daze.
Wow.
And so I got up, I peeled one apple, chopped it up, took all my energy to do this, put a scoop of peanut butter, brought it, and I said, my mom said we need to eat. And he looked at me and I was like, let's eat. And it took everything for us to eat an apple. We didn't have any energy. And so we realized things were serious because Micah's lips were completely white. And I had more energy than he did. And so we sent our kids away with some friends for a few days. My mom came over. She dropped off an oximeter and a blood pressure cuff and all these things. And I took his oxygen and he was at 86.
Is that bad?
That's really bad. So I called our primary. I talked to a friend of mine who's a pharmacist, and she said, your doctor should have started you on steroids. She should have done this. She should have done that, da, 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 da. And I was like, okay, let me call her. I called the doctor, and I said, his oxygen is this, his blood pressure is this. And she said, you just need to drop him off at the emergency room, and hopefully you see him later.
Oh my.
And I said, there's nothing you can give me. Like, you can't start me on this, on that, or whatever. And she said, I'm so sorry. And this really bothered me. She said, my hands are tied. The only thing you can do is drop him off at the emergency room.
Huh.
And I was so angry. So I called my Salvadorian doctor. And I said, hey, we have COVID. My husband's oxygen is this. This was on the weekend because she was friends with my mom. She said, okay, it's Sunday. She was like, this place is closed. We need to put him on an oxygen machine. She was like, I need you to check his oxygen and his blood pressure every hour. She was like, I'll hold it on my card. You just need to send somebody to pick it up. And I was like, okay. And so we got him the oxygen machine. I mean, she literally saved his life.
Oh, wow.
We got him on the oxygen machine. And then for the next 2 days, like, we were literally like holding hands, singing hymns, and just like loving God, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because we realized how close we were, more so him than me.
Yeah.
And so it was like a huge wake-up call.
Wow.
And then once we got better, like, it took Micah a long time to regain his strength. To see a guy that loves playing basketball, does all these things, is very active, struggle with an oxygen machine, to walk out of the house and walk down the sidewalk and walk back and then just have to call it a night. Like, it was awful. And it really gives you like PTSD. And from that moment, like, I got really agoraphobic. My anxiety was like through the roof. I didn't want to be outside of my home. And visiting churches, like, for example, we would visit Wes's church. It was terrifying. I would cry all the way there and all the way back because we had to take the highway.
What about
And
was it about the highway that just because the car's going faster?
yeah, just like everything. it just felt so unsafe. It just felt like certain doom was just lurking. It was so weird. And he would be like, why don't you guys move your membership and come over here? And I'm like,
The highway.
I was like, yeah, it was literally that. And I remember one day, like, it was so bad. I told my doctor, and it's the same doctor, I kept her. And I said, like, I'm really struggling with this. Like, I don't even want to leave my house. And she said, you need to see, I'll schedule you some time with this therapist that they have in office. And so I went to see her, and I told her, like, what was going on. And she said, I was like, I don't like putting chemicals in my body, yada, yada, yada. And she said, you should probably try edibles.
Just so you could calm down?
Yeah. She was like, you can get your medical card. And like, the younger me was like, yes. But the older me was like terrified. And so, yeah. After that, I said, well, let me think about it. And, somebody gave me an edible after that. And I sat down with my kids and I enjoyed them.
After the edible, it actually relaxed you?
Yeah. And like, I was able to see them without all of the noise. And I really, like, I wanted that moment of spending time with them and listening to their stories to like never end.
Mm.
And so I made an appointment to get my medical card.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I made an appointment. And then I thought, like, I prayed about it and I just didn't know what to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, let me just check one more thing. So I went and got my hormones checked.
Mm.
And when they checked my hormones, my vitamin D level was so low. I was like, this is why you're so sad. And then the lady was like, so are you having a lot of anxiety? And I said, yeah. She said, well, your iron's super low too. So your body's basically in survival mode because you don't have vitamin D, you don't have iron and all these things. And you're not sleeping well because you need progesterone and da 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 da. And I was like, what? So it was because my body just didn't have what it needed. Those were like the alarms that were going off for me every day. And so when I started taking my vitamins and like making a point of it, I slept through the night and I wasn't just this ball of anxiety. And I never picked up my card.
Hmm. So then after that, you were more open to spiritual things differently than you had heard before?
So right before I did the hormone check, we were driving home from Wes's church and I was crying. And Micah looked over at me and he was like, you need to get it together. Like, you cannot live like this. Like, I think he was fed up. Like, and this is as fed up as he gets. Like, he was just like, you cannot live like this. This is not living, you know? And so in that moment, I said, God, like, because I'd been listening, I was like, I know that this isn't for me. I need you to take this now. Because I know that this isn't for me. This is not what you want for me. And for like a split second, I had this peace. just enough to make it home, and then it started again. Like the thoughts started flooding back in. And so I was like, okay, that's what it was for me. Like, that made it real for me. And so I started listening with open ears whenever Micah would jump on, instead of trying to find the flaws of everybody else.
So when you opened up, what were you hearing?
I mean, I was listening to people's testimonies. Micah would be like, oh, this guy's about to get free. This guy's about to get free. This guy's about to get free. And then you'd be like, let's open the book to Romans. And I was like, and so then I would pull out my Bible and be like, let's, and it was just, it was there, And I think that I started to believe it for other people first, before I could fully accept it for myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
For sure it does.
And then when I realized, like, salvation wasn't this roller coaster, and, like, if I make a mistake, like, it's okay. God still loves me. Because I grew up, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, I met my dad when I was 17. And he was not a good example of love. Like, one time, just to give you an example, because he couldn't control me, he killed my pet in front of me.
Oh, wow.
And then he looked at me and he said, look at what you did.
I'm sorry.
And so, to truly wrap my head around this unconditional love was really hard. But I feel like it allowed me to love people so much better.
How did you wrap your mind around the fact that you were unconditionally loved? What was it that you were like, oh, this is true, I am loved?
I think that it was a little bit of everything. So I would read Romans, and I would, like...
Were you looking for a verse right now when you said, let me find something?
Yes.
Was it Romans 5:8?
Yeah. Oh, it froze. Yeah, because I can't even show you. It said, yeah. It says, but God shows his love for us, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, since therefore we have now been justified by his blood. Much more shall we be saved by him from the wrath of God. For while we were his enemies, we were reconciled to him by the death of his son. Much more now we are reconciled, shall we be saved by his life. And I think I don't know.
No, that's where it's at. That's the verse I go to nonstop. That's
And
huge.
and then I thought, I kind of thought that if I had to go back to it, if it was almost like, it was like almost like I felt ashamed that I had to go back to it,
How
to read
so?
it again,
Why would that make you feel ashamed?
because it felt like, I know this to be true. Why do I have to come back to it? You know?
I mean, we ought to go back to it every day.
And I know, but it just seemed like, why do you have to keep coming back to this when life gets hard? Like, why do you have to keep coming back to this when life gets hard? And I think that, and I think that you're right. You know, I think that's what it's there for. So that you
Absolutely.
can come back to it when life gets hard. And so when I realized like God can take and He will take all of these things that are burdening you away. Like when I started seeing things like sloughing off, like when when I stopped, and I didn't even mention this, but when I stopped watching pornography and I didn't even want to, like I didn't even want to watch it anymore. It
Hmm.
wasn't anymore. It wasn't like it wasn't like, oh, let me just try, or oh, I'm really tempted. Let me just, oh, I'm not gonna do it. It was literally like the desire left.
Hmm.
I wanted to tell everybody. So when people were sad, like I was probably, so then I started kind of, but when people were sad, I would pray with them. I still do. Like if people are sad, like I will pray with you and I will remind you that He will keep thee in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. Like, I was just like, He can do this. Like,
Hmm.
it is so real. And I want to tell you, and I want to tell you, and I want to tell you. And then I feel like people start getting freaked out.
That's like my story. It changes our lives, and then we just can't.
You can't keep it to yourself.
No, you can't.
And I remember my mom came over one day and I was like, Mom, like, here's this thing and your salvation, like, you just have to accept the Lord Jesus as as Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and all this stuff. And things would just fall into place and He's doing all these things and you're free. Like, and my mom looked at me and she was like, she had this smile on her face and she said, you've experienced liberación.
Hmm.
And I said, you knew about this? And she said, yeah. And it was just, she was so happy.
Oh.
And so then, I wanted to tell everybody. And I even took my sister to Nebraska. And she wasn't even my intended target. My intended target was my niece. And I took my sister, and she was aware of some backlash, because if you don't get it, like, it does sound scary.
Hmm.
If you, like, it can sound like once saved, always saved if you hear a snippet. You know what I mean?
It kind of has to. Like if we're not, if you're not preaching it, if you're really preaching it, it has to sound too good to be true.
Yeah.
It has to sound, because in many ways it's borderline fairy tale what God has done in saving us. So if it
Yeah.
doesn't sound that good, then we're not preaching it straight. When you preach it straight, it makes legalistic people nervous.
Yeah.
And so you took her. What did she think?
She came back to our room one evening. It was just her and I. And she had tears in her eyes. And she said, Diana, she was like, these people have the Holy Spirit. She was like, and I don't understand how people can be so mean to them. Like, she was just kind of like, I haven't had a bad experience with a single one of these, a single person here. Like, they just love the Lord. How can it possibly be?
That makes me sad.
I'm sorry.
No, like, I don't even know. It just makes me, not for me, but for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was when last year for the 4th?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is after we were down there at your church.
Yes. I wasn't ready at that point. You know?
You were still wrestling with some stuff?
Yeah. Like, maybe just a little bit.
Where do you feel like it all settled, or what you understand about it now?
So, my understanding about it now is that I'm a new creation. I feel like there's so much I want to say and I just don't know how to say it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. But there's something.
I feel like he has saved me from addiction. He has saved me. I would even say that anxiety can be an addiction. And the only thing he asked for was my heart.
Just wanted you to believe him.
Yeah. He's just like, I'm telling you this, but you don't want to believe me. And instead, you're wanting to live in this turmoil, in this mouse wheel. And that's not what it's about. And as soon as you figure that out, like as soon as you figure it out that your mistakes aren't what defines you and all these things, like those things don't matter. Like you'll be able to love people on a completely different level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are people that I've met since then that I feel like I would have judged. Because they were doing something that I either did or something that I don't understand. And now it's just like, let me just introduce you to Jesus.
So if we go back and we meet up with, I don't know, junior year Diana, 13-year-old Diana, struggling, what would you say to her?
I thought about this. I don't think I know. I don't think I know what I would say. I mean, I'd probably say, if I was 13, 14, I'd probably say things are about to get really, really bad. But you're not alone. And you're gonna come out of it. And you're gonna realize how much God has been there, even though some things were really bad.
Amen. I love your heart, your passion for the gospel. I love that it took you a while. I think that's amazing too. And you and Micah have been blessings to me, and I'm sure you're blessings to those people that you do life with there in Oklahoma. So thank you so much for sharing your heart and blessing us with your testimony.
Thank you.
Absolutely.